Hi, Chelsea. Welcome to the show. I'm very excited to have you on today.
Thanks, Laura. I'm excited to be back, and I'm really excited to talk about this new book, which I
Yes.
read. I'm excited.
Yes, very exciting. So, this is round two for us. We had you on talking about mystical motherhood probably a few years ago. And, through that connection, we've really become friends. And I'm just really grateful for our friendship and the growth that we've supported each other over the
I
years.
know, me too.
And now here we are talking about your newest book, because you have so many, The Feminine Effect, Discovering Your True Nature. So I'd love for you to just share a little bit of background about kind of where you're at now with this latest book and what it's about and how it can help women.
Yeah. So this book is a book for women that are constantly looking for the dangling carrot. It's never enough. So you could have all the money in the entire world. You could have the husband, you could have the family, you could have the yachts and the parties and the education and the career, and then say, "Oh, I want more. There's something more. There's always something more." And that something more can destroy a family. It can make you sick. It can make you mentally anxious. It can make you spiritually thirsty and hungry for something that's never attainable.
Mm,
And I think it's a lot of what's making women like ill. And so I took it to my own story, which is sort of plays out like a movie. It comes with the songs and everything, and
yeah,
it does play like a movie. And I have heard that people can't put it down, which is awesome to hear.
yeah,
But it's about returning to your nature as a woman. And what are the things in life that take us out of our nature, and how does that reflect in our relationships?
yeah. 100%. It is a page turner. I finished it within a few days. So it was like really, like I wanted to keep reading. It was like, what's going to happen next? It definitely is a page turner where you're like, like a movie, like you said. There's your real life has had a lot of exciting things happen in it. And I also really appreciate how authentic you are in this book because it's very, vulnerable to share a lot of the stuff that you put in this book about your real life experience as a woman.
Yeah, so it's about the heart opening process you have to go to. So I know I went personally. I went through a divorce, and I went. It wasn't just like I guess everybody who goes through a divorce has a hard time. I think it's probably the hardest thing you can go through. But we'd been together for 20 years almost, and I didn't have just a little. I had a lot. So when I left, it changed everything. So I had to go through a real spiritual transformation, and honestly, I fell to my knees asking God for like guidance or what I'm supposed to do, like, you know, and this is for any woman who's in a relationship and is wondering if they should stay or or just left a relationship. It's like we all are in our partnerships and we are never happy. No, it's like either we want more money or we want more like God or we want more from our partner. There's not like a sense of authenticity within us to be in our nature as a woman. So this story takes women through the ups and downs of that. And I really wanted to do that. I wanted people to go from the highs to the lows and feel like every single emotion, whether that's entitlement, envy, jealousy, pride, just everything and see it in themselves. Either, they wanted that or they, don't like women who are like that and then have a reaction so that they could process it within themselves. And I think I delivered.
You did. You did deliver. And I think you make a really good point there about the judgment. As women, we can be so critical of other women in our, environment, our circle, and at the, school drop off. And we're all going through our own journey individually, right? And I think, it's really my hope is that as women, we can be more supportive to other women and more uplifting versus kind of judging, tearing, gossiping, right? Like that these are all things that really, are negative towards, our woman sisters.
Well, there's two things about that. When I first began the book, I said, "You're going to love me. You're going to hate me. You're going to be jealous. You're going to think I'm entitled. You're going to project all of your things onto me. You're going to have an experience through this." And I've done a lot of podcasts on this, and every single person who's read it has been like, "You made me so personally upset at times, but it was my own processing, like my own relationships I was processing. Not this was, people I've been speaking to about this book, but also what you're talking about is the judgment against women is a lot of this book is describing how women can return to their nature as a female. And so a lot of the things we've taken on as we've gained all these identities through life. So through education, through travel, through career, just we've gained a sense of self outside of ourselves. And so we don't really know who we are as women. And part of those battle tools we use is competition, manipulation, entitlement, lying, and we do it to each other, but we do it within relationships. And I think that's the rise of narcissism. But
Yeah. So, um, it's so true. I think, we had talked a little bit about this book before the podcast and how, both of us have a concern about how the rise of the feminist movement specifically really took women out of being feminine, ironically, and really were creating more masculine women, and how that is out of nature with who we are, and how it's destructive not only to us individually as women, but to our families, to our communities when we're imbalanced. And the imbalance of women being more masculine creates more feminine men, right? And so we lose that polarity and all the things that come with having this masculine, feminine energetics.
well, and this was in a lot of about this first book, The Feminine Effect, is it's the competition. It's like the two horses that are trying to be the same person. And it's like we don't think we can't as women, we've been programmed by society to believe that success is financial success. And independence, in order to be independent, when the feminist movement took over, we had to be financially successful. And so now we have defined success as financial success, even though our definition of success would really, if you really look at what a woman really is, a man doesn't have intuition like we do. A man doesn't have the ability to know, to design, to create, to reproduce. Like all of our powers are substantial, to connect to source, to know like that deep connection. Men are very logical. It's like, why do we think it's more powerful to become something that we're not? Why are we believing that? And it's like we've been tricked. And in this book, I bring up, you know, Adam and Eve and how Eve ate the apple. And we're not much different. We ate this apple of wisdom and we think that we're the smartest people on this planet and that we can, but in reality, we're being stupid because we're making ourselves sick in so many ways by doing so much and overdoing it and not like taking a step back. And it sadly takes a divorce. Maybe it takes a sickness, as you know, in our field, or, some sort of crisis in the woman's life that makes her take a step back and say, what's wrong? Which is what I had to do in the feminine effect and say, what is wrong? And then this man entered my life named Abdi, and he explained, well, you're out of your nature. And I remember it. I was in the Costa Rican jungle and he said, you're out of your nature. And I was like, what is my nature? And that question is like, what is my nature? It became this journey of transformation for me to realign my values to something different, which were very different than my previous values.
Mhm. Yes, you really hit the nail on the head. It's really, culturally, at least in the United States especially, and probably a lot of Western, nations, um, to be successful is really aligning with masculine values, and when women do that, we do really move away from our nature. We forget our gifts. We forget, all of the things that women have to offer that are unique to women that men cannot do. And so it's really recognizing that to be a successful woman does not mean you have to do what a man can do, right? And to your point, especially since we are both healthcare practitioners, I do and you do see a lot of women with autoimmune issues or infertility or just really run down adrenal fatigue, just exhausted
Yeah.
because they are trying to be both a man and a woman, especially if they're already a mother, right? And it's nobody can be a man and do all of that at the same time, right? Like, you just you just stay in your lane, right? And if we really recognize how powerful we are as women when we aren't trying to be a man, that's really when we're feeling, I feel, complete, right? And that contentness that you're talking about.
Yeah. And as you're saying that, it's like reminding me, it's almost like a society's trauma response, or maybe all of our combined conditioning. And then society on top of that creates this trauma response. And because we're not able to feel, which is a woman's superpower, like our ability to feel is what opens our heart. And
Mm.
so most of us, all of us of humanity is living in their mind. And when we're all living in our mind, we're acting like males. And because of all our hearts are closed, we're not feeling anything. And the process of returning to that femininity is really about opening our hearts and feeling. And then the trauma or the pain in the body or the autoimmune issues or the infertility or all the blocks or the divorce or the relationship issues then come up. They're just they're the symptoms of our disease, of this bacteria or virus that's honestly taken over so many women, all of us. I mean,
Yeah.
it's sad.
It is sad, and I know you had shared with me also prior to this recording that you really felt compelled to write this book to, leave a legacy almost for women about what's possible for us as women and why this is so important so that we don't forget. Like, we don't want future generations of women to forget what their
Yeah.
nature is.
Yeah. It's funny you're bringing that up because I wrote this and there's another book that's a follow-up book to this, and it's more of a mind-based book. So The Feminine Effect, the one we're speaking about right now, is a heart-opening book. It is a quick read, a story, like a movie. It has music to it, and it takes you through your own story. The next book really describes it in a nonfiction way. And I took in that book, I said to the reader, Ina May Gaskin, as we know, since we're both in the birth world and love this, is she natural birth was almost gone in the United States.
Right.
Nobody knew what it was. Like we almost forgot that you could have a vaginal birth. Like in Brazil, it's gone. And around the world, it's like we don't know what it is to be a woman. And so if
Right.
there's maybe a few documents out there that say, don't forget this, or maybe there's a Bible entry, or maybe there's nowhere you can look to have a real definition of what that is, because it's completely almost like a species is being wiped away. Like a rhino has been taken out in Africa. I can't, if we look at a woman, we don't know what it is. Maybe on social media, we're seeing this trad wife thing, or we're looking for it in, so we want it. We're looking for it on social media and we're hoping to have glimpses of it, but it really is a spiritual, emotional, and physical process you have to go through to return to that. And that's what this book documents. It's not just a social media, like I'm going to mix sourdough bread or dress a certain way. It isn't that. It's a deep undoing. It's a changing of the species.
Wow, so it's like even speaking to women becoming extinct, which is like,
I mean,
it's
like
crazy.
that's what I'm realizing has happened. But I was unaware of it when I was in this other world where I'm on the other side of it and I'm having issues, whether they're issues in my relationship or I'm not happy or I want to have an affair or I want to, my kids aren't happy or I'm traveling the world. Like nothing was ever enough. And you don't know you're in it. You don't know you're acting that way until something falls apart. And then maybe you're in a doctor's office, but nobody's saying, oh, it's because you've become a man. It's because
Right.
you've taken on these traits of competition or manipulation, entitlement, you name it. We are not meant to act like that. We're meant to act like from our heart, from love. We're meant to be in intuition and relationships and community and not doing so much. I don't
Yeah.
think we're meant to do so much.
Yeah, the overdoing is so real. I mean, especially, we're both in the New York City area, and I do find there's a certain type of person, like a type A,
Yeah.
really driven person that's attracted to the energy of New York City. for men and women. But then it's like you said, the women are like, I got to compete with the man. I got to get the promotions. I'm going to pop out a baby, go back to work a week later. Like, really, it's like, no, we're that's not what we were meant and designed to do, even if you choose the path of motherhood, right? And then I also think, and I have to say, I'm in this crowd too, where I was, looking at women, other mothers at school, and I was feeling jealous if they were stay at home moms, right? And I'm like, oh, that does, you know what I mean? Or also like, why aren't they continuing their career? They have these degrees, and they had a career. They were
Yeah.
very successful in their career. They're choosing to walk away from that right now to raise their children, and really, having a hard time judging that myself. And so I think this is something that's so relevant for so many women, and we all can relate to it in different ways.
Right. There's women that want their husband to make more. And then there's women in this story was my husband was making too much. I wanted him to be home. Right.
Right.
So there's the two sides of it. You could judge either side. But
Or the women that are making more money than their husband, they're the breadwinner.
yeah, it's we're so out of balance. Our species is so out of balance. And because we're so out of balance, like I looked at security in the next book coming up in feminine frequency, and I was like, why are we so insecure? And then I had to ask, like, what are we insecure from? Like, where does the need for security come from? And if you really look historically, it comes from a man. We gained security, historically from a man. And now we look to security through financial security or through everything outside of ourselves, including social media, including how we look, including, I mean, everything we do is based on what others think of us. And so we have nothing authentic about ourselves, just to be okay with who we are, where we are in that moment. And if anyone could read these books and just say, I'm okay to be a mom, it's okay to be a stay-at-home mom. And even if 5% of women can hear that, maybe 10% of women will agree with that, then maybe 15% of women will agree with that. And they'll find security in that, like in that new value system of it's okay. I'm going against society. I don't need to prove anything to anybody. This is enough. I'm enough. Like we're looking for this sense of security and safety outside of ourselves and outside of a man. And we can't admit that we're dependent upon a man for a lot of things. And
Right.
that's one of the biggest things is we don't want to be dependent upon a man.
Right.
We hate it.
Right.
Even a good man. You get a good man, and then you're like, I still don't like you. And it becomes like a thing all of us are working through. But all of this is documented in these books, all this feminine issues that take us out of our nature as a woman.
So if someone's listening to this, and obviously we want them to go pick up your book, The Feminine Effect, by Chelsea Ann, but what can they do to really start opening their heart and getting back to their nature? Do you have any tips for that?
I do. So first off, unfortunately, it takes a crisis or it
Mhm.
takes
Does always
not
100%?
always. Okay, so if you're listening and you're just into health and wellness and maybe this message gets out, you're like, this could be the new trend, right? It could be the new trend or it could be a crisis. So take some moment in time to be like, wait a minute. I am having these thoughts that nothing's enough. I am having my family's not enough, something like that, right? So number one, you need to begin to know yourself. And we talk about this. We know this as friends, that it could be as simple as meditation for people. It could be therapy. I mean, some women refuse to go to therapy. It could be looking at this book, The Feminine Effect, looks at relationships as a way of looking at yourself. So you can use the mirror of a relationship to see
Mhm.
where you're at, what you feel like there's that. So know yourself. And then number two, know what you need in your life to return to your nature. So, and you'll have to read the books to understand what the feminine nature is, but it's everything that's opposite of what you think it is now. Basically, everything you're doing right now, it's you think you're evolving. I'm arguing here we're not evolving, that we're
Mm.
actually not evolving as a species.
Mm.
So you have to look, number two, at what you need in your life to return to your nature. So most of the time for women, that's space, that's a lot of space. That's taking a break from work, that's taking a break from relationships, that's taking a even space throughout the day, space on a Friday. You make space in your life, and then you that space and that isolation from the groups that you're in will help you see that maybe the opposite could be true.
Mm,
And then number 3 is don't try to get things you can't attain. So a lot of us are always trying to have something that's unattainable because it's like that's our male drive. It's like something unattainable, like something we can't have. And it could be as small as like a car to a better yard to a dress to a huge thing. If it's not attainable for you, s- bring it back. And so then when you bring it back, because a lot of times our greed and our need to be bigger and bigger and bigger, it overcomes the man in our life, all of us in every single way. And as a result of that, like they can, then they don't care to attain like we do unless they're attaining for us.
right.
If men are completely satisfied to be successful just to give to their own little family. They only are successful if their mom makes them be that way or a woman makes them be that way. They don't go out and attain greed unless like they were programmed to do so. Women have that. It's really, if you look at society, women are driving a lot of this. And if we scale it back and move back into our hearts a bit more, they won't have the need to compete to be bigger than us. We're like racing horses, trying to be something we're not. So know yourself, know what you need in your life to be in your nature, and then try to go through things that are attainable, and don't look to social media to define who you are. Don't look to anything else outside of yourself to define your authenticity.
Yeah. Yeah, you're never gonna get that information outside. And that's why, for me, definitely a meditation practice is helpful because I am really able to connect to myself at a deeper level. And when we're overscheduled, we're not really connecting to ourselves, right? We're not really in that present moment
Yeah.
to know what do I need right this moment because we're too busy thinking about the past and the future.
Yeah. Like I'm thinking of like a New York mom working in a bank and her hair's falling out. She comes to me for her hair falling out. And I'm like, the problem isn't your hair.
Right.
There's way more problems here, right? And then so we go to that. And it's just like that, even the beginning of knowing something's wrong. So know yourself is like something's out of balance. I'm not in my nature. Just the knowing of that there can be a different way. And it's typically the opposite way of the way you're living. So everything you're doing, if you're turning right, take left. If you read a book a certain way, do it the opposite way.
I love how you were able to put a soundtrack to this book too on Spotify. Like that was quite unique, I thought.
Yeah, the music takes it because I wanted women to feel. And because we're usually reactive, we're logical. A lot of meditation is popular because we're in our heads a lot. But in order to get back into the femininity, you have to feel and you have to cry,
Yeah.
not just reactively cry. But like, when is the last time anyone listening has just like, and I'm not saying that in a weakness. There's a lot of videos on social media and on YouTube about like, be strong, let no one know you're weak. And I mean, just
Oh,
like
I haven't seen those.
oh yeah, I like the girl. She's like an ex-CIA girl. I've been watching her. And I like that because we are really gullible and we trust a lot of people. But then there's also this side of it is like there's nobody being soft and loving.
Mm.
We all have our guard up. We're all working from this conditioned heart. And so when the heart is closed, it's closed from events in the childhood that hurt you. And so what happens in your life is if you're having in disharmonious relationships, it's the event that's trying to be healed from your heart and be felt again. So rather than like look at the event from the outside, look at it from the inside and be like, why is this triggering me? Where is this feeling come from? And a lot of times it takes like hypnosis to get there.
Yeah. Something deeper definitely than like a traditional talk therapy, like even a trauma-based coaching or hypnotherapy.
Yeah.
You can go deeper to that subconscious belief system, right? Formed during our childhood. And I think I also wanna mention, like, when you're talking about the relationships in your life, it's not just with your intimate partner, but it could also be your friends, your children, right, that are mirroring back, your kind of where your nature is.
And work everywhere.
Work.
It's all where you're at. Everything's just a mirror of you, or it's a mirror of where you're leaving. So sometimes it can be like, oh, that was me. And either I can stay here or I can glimpse a part of myself through that person and move on. It's really
Mm,
magical when you look at the world like that. It's like, oh,
mm.
that was me. That's why I'm so upset by this person. Like I used to be like that,
Right.
you
That
know?
person's triggering me, right?
Yeah. It's like triggering. Anytime anybody triggers you, go right into it. Be like, that I want to be friends with that person. Like, why? Why don't I like that person? Why don't even if you read this book, The Feminine Effect, and you're because I try to become every woman in it. I really do bring up the things we want and the things our desires and the way we look at relationships and the way we think we're so never wrong and then the way we're really wrong sometimes. I really try to take it to perspective and show perspective within the book of our ridiculousness of not really
Mhm.
just seeing some of our own faults because we typically look at other people's faults
Yes.
and when we're healing and when we're really becoming feminine it's not taking on the world or taking on the responsibility for creating everything, but it's looking at your side of it and taking accountability for that. And the next book, The Feminine Frequency, really looks at why I'm going off subject, but not really. I'm going to circle back. Is why is there such a rise of narcissism in our society? And I thought about it. And if you look at the definition of feminism, and you look at the definition of narcissism, a lot of it lines up word for word. It's trying
Wow.
to become something you're not. And if you think about who's producing society, it's women. So every single generation is produced by another woman. And I'm not saying everyone's a narcissist. I'm saying that we've taken on these male like traits to as our battle tools as women. And we're unable to see ourselves and our own take accountability for what we've done and drop our pride to say, I'm sorry. Says, like somebody's got to take responsibility for the world. Somebody has to say, somebody has to change it. So in these books, I recommend it's us.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree that, like, when it comes to healing the world and uplifting the consciousness of the globe, it is really women and especially mothers that are driving that ship. So there's a big responsibility there. We're not just raising the next generation, but we're also having an opportunity to help heal.
Yeah. So this book really shows women the process of healing and feeling that heart opening process. And it's not easy. People in this book they die. There's a lot of, I was it was hard to be so vulnerable and talk about those really dark moments in my life. Those were the darkest things I've ever been through. They were horrific. I was afraid everybody would throw the book at the wall and say, but no, that those dark moments in your life, those hard times, whether it's at work or whatever you're going through, or you're questioning your relationship, or you did something wrong, or you had, bad people in your life, you have to embrace those moments and see like, wow, this is the heart opening process. It's not a process that's easy and painless. It's very painful to feel all the things that like hold humanity within us.
It is. And I would say also, like, for women that, have done a lot of work around their intuition, even sometimes some of these past life stuff comes up and, ancestral women lineage type things that we could still be storing and holding on to currently, right? That are, need to be processed and released.
Yeah, like a lot of the physical pain, for sure the physical pain and the chronic, like looking for doctors and looking at laboratory work as why you're feeling that way. It really comes down to not feeling the original wound, the original trauma that closed your heart in the first place. And those traumas all bind you up. They like make you tight as a woman so you're not a woman anymore. 'Cause men are the ones they don't wanna feel it. They're the ones who don't, they have to be strong. They have to protect. They have to be like that. And if you look at a man's body, it's very physically strong, and all of a sudden now we are, like, in the gym, working out, trying to look like men too, and I do, I work out too, I feel better, but we're even doing it in the gym. We're taking on all these aspects as if we're trying to all become one when we don't see our own power and our own femininity. It's actually mind-blowing to think about it, like, in every single aspect of our life, we're copying them, but thinking that's better.
Yeah, it's so interesting. You know?
We're like, I mean, we're going out lifting as much weight as them at the gym even, and then we're, like, going to the bank with them and going to work and high-fiving them, and then we use these tools to show that we're as good as them. We use manipulation, we use competition, we use these different tools to say, "I'm as good as you are," but we can't just say, "I'm better at other things."
Yeah, and I think that is important to just recognize our gifts and really cherish and utilize the gifts that we're born with that are innate to our nature.
Yeah.
And also, I've studied a lot about masculine and feminine dynamics. And when women become more like men, it is very hurtful to that intimate relationship, right? Because then we're feminizing our partner and the polarity, that chemistry, that magic really goes away, right? You don't have that dynamic when a man becomes more feminine and a woman becomes more masculine.
Yeah, and it's so broken in almost every relationship. Like, I don't really know that many relationships that have the perfect balance we're all looking for. We're all kind of struggling to find what that is. I don't think it'll be in our generation.
Mm,
I think we'll have to, I don't know how it could be. It's gone so off balance now that we don't
yeah.
like, it's like what Ina May Gaskin was saying, like, "Nobody knows what natural birth is. I gotta write about it and bring it back, and just a few of you will I'm gonna teach a few of you what it is." And then from there'll be a little bit of a movement, and that little bit of a movement will keep that natural birth going, and hopefully we'll save it.
Yeah, I wanna share a crazy story about that because there's nothing more feminine than giving birth, right? That is the ultimate feminine act. I had a woman in my office yesterday who was born at home in Haiti. Her mother had 2 home births at Haiti, which is she shared with me is what most people do, right? And it's like you don't really wanna go to a hospital to give birth in Haiti because it's not safe. You might not come home. So, it's like even the poorest people, they have birth workers that will come to your home and deliver your baby. So that's their culture, right? That is what they do. And when her mother immigrated to the US and had 2 more children, she gave birth in a hospital. And I was like, "Well, that's kinda weird." You know what I mean? I'm like, "Why didn't your mom have 2 more home births in New Jersey?" And she's like, "She didn't know she could." I'm like, "What?" She
Wow.
literally experienced and knew all her mother and her mother's mother and all these
Yeah,
women in her lineage that had all given birth at home. In fact, this woman's mother now this woman's grandmother had 12 home births in
yeah.
Haiti, right? So like literally that's what the women in her lineage had always done for so many years. And this woman just moves to a different country, different culture, and was like, "Oh, okay, I'm pregnant. I'm going to birth at a hospital."
But that's exactly what we're talking that's the best example ever, is I didn't know I could.
Right. But yet she did. Even physically knew she
Right.
could, but yet didn't know she could.
Because we're all looking to society to define who we are and our authenticity, and we don't have any security or sense of self without it.
Right.
And that's the best I mean, that's like a mind-blowing.
Isn't that mind blowing?
I already did it twice. I didn't know I could, but it's programming. And I do think this is, I mean, I don't wanna get into conspiracy, but it's a bit of government programming. They wanted 2 economic incomes coming into each household and to create what we have now, where you need to have 2 people working. They did it very
Mhm.
successfully, and they took the most gullible species on the planet, women, historically in the Bible and everything,
Mhm.
said, "Oh, you wanna be free. You wanna go this is better for you. This is gonna
Mhm.
shove paper around on a desk and leave your kids at home, and it's gonna be better."
Yeah, woman power.
Yeah, be powerful, gain your power back. But what power is not defined by what a man is. What power is we've forgotten what it is. And so this book tries to bring glimpses of that as like what's your intuition, your power of your heart, like that the harmony of your heart when you touch into that and what it could do for people and the healing aspects it has. No man has that.
Right. Yeah, we can't expect us as a species to all be opening our hearts from, male leadership, right? Like this is really a feminine this is where feminine can lead and direct, right? Is by just modeling how to be open with our hearts. And that's scary. That's really scary.
Well, this book was scary to write. It's vulnerable. I couldn't believe anyone's reading it. I mean, it went on NTD News globally the other day, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, people are reading this is gonna be read by people. My story is gonna," and then I'm like, "This is the heart opening process. It's the
Yeah.
vulnerability of that. This is like,
Mm,
can you put it all on the table and can you be authentically who you are in the good and bad? That's powerful."
yeah. It's so powerful. Well, Chelsea, this was an amazing conversation. Do you have any last thoughts you want to share with the audience?
No, I'm great to see you, and I'm so excited to see you for lunch soon, Laura. Laura's my good friend, everyone, and so we always have good conversations, and I just appreciate you for having me. And if
Yeah.
anybody wants to find me, you can go to Chelsea Ann Effect, or you can buy Feminine Effect, Discovering Your True Nature on Amazon. And then I'll be back later to talk about the next book, The Feminine Frequency, which is a little bit more controversial even than this. So
Wow. And that one's coming out in March of 26, right?
March of 26.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode with Chelsea Ann. She is such a breath of fresh air. I love her honesty and her vulnerability. And you have to check out her book, The Feminine Effect. It is so good. And I can't wait to check out the next book in the series as well that's coming out in the next couple months. So if you like today's podcast, please go to ratethispodcast.com/well-adjusted mama and follow these simple instructions to give us a wonderful rating and help share the great news of this podcast so other women can learn about it and get the information as well. And if you're looking for support from a functional medicine practitioner for one on one individual guidance to help with preconception, fertility, or other women's health issues, I might be the woman for you. Go check out my website at drlaurabrayton.com. Click on the link, Become a Patient, and we can schedule a free 15-minute discovery call to see if we are a good fit to work together. I look forward to chatting with you there soon.